Hey everyone, this is week 6 of 2D design, and we're going to be talking about color, but also different color schemes. And I'm going to kind of do a demo on how to do this final project here, where we'll be playing with different types of color schemes and color palettes and stuff. So, as you can see, make sure we can see my screen right here. Let's look at the project here and kind of looking at these different color palettes here. Let me go ahead and just go to the final project here. So we have our color wheel. I'm going to do a little bit of demo on the color wheel. Concept sketches. We got a discussion question. And then our color relationship project. So for this project, you'll use a black and white photograph that you want to crop to 4 inches by 4 inches as a square as your starting point. So this can be really be any kind of photo you want. Pick something that you would enjoy repainting 5 more times after, the initial image. But for me today, I decided to go with this sunset photo. It's not very well printed, so I printed a larger version of it for when I paint, so it'll be a little bit easier to kind of see the values and stuff. But this is an achromatic image where it has no color. It's all just kind of grayscale and blacks and whites. And then we're going to use that as our base, and then we're going to go into making a monochromatic replica of this image. We're going to do a complementary replica, a triadic, a tetradic, and an analogous replica of these. And so going in, you can kind of read the project here. Again, these are going to be 4 inches by 4 inches, and you want these to be kind of like in a row, so they have like a nice even flow. So you can do, 4 different, you can do 4 inch by 4 inches squares and kind of just, put them all in one kind of single sheet of Bristol. I think that would probably be the easiest here. So let me go ahead and just kind of grid out real quickly my squares. I'm probably only going to do like one of them for this demo, but you can kind of see here how I would do this. So let's see. So we'll do 4 inches. So this is 12 inches. So I could fit 3 of them. And then do my 4 inches in length. Ideally, you want a larger piece of Bristol to do this, but you can kind of do this however you need. Let's see, so the project say you'll need to, what the original size is. So you'll need 5 pieces of these 4 inches. So I guess you don't have to do them in a row, but I think it's good to keep them in a row so they're easier to kind of see through one another. So this is going to be a little sloppy, but you'll kind of get the gist here of what I'm doing. So you're going to have 5 of these, but I just got 3 for now. I have my regular image here, so I'm just going to leave that there. And then I'm going to tape these off because I think it's just a good practice to tape off your paints so you don't get them and get them to run into your next image, especially if they're close to one another. So I'm going to use this lovely blue tape that I saved from a previous project, because why would we waste, right? So I'm just gonna tape this in here. Actually, I'll just do this for now. Actually, I don't want to do that. I lied. Let me take this off and then I'll tape that image there. So I think it's fine. You could tape it all the way off, but since I don't have anything on top, I'm just not going to worry about it. But I'm just going to tape this so I can see it. Hopefully you can still see it too here. Hopefully the lighting's not too terrible in my studio. Okay, so some things just to go over that I have here. I have my primary colors. I have my red, my yellow, or my blue, and my yellow here. And these are the only colors we're going to use. We're going to use these as our base for our primaries, and then we're going to mix our secondaries, and then we're going to mix our tertiaries with the secondaries and the primaries. So these are the three colors you want to have for sure. You can have white and black if you want to play with tint or shade of your colors. So remember, a tint is when you add white to a hue and it gets lighter, and adding black to a color or to a hue adds a shade where it gets darker. So having those, making sure you have a wide range of brushes to kind of use. These aren't the best, but they'll do for this project. Have some kind of napkin or, paper towel to wipe your brushes with. And of course, some water here. And then I also have my palette thing, which I've kind of shown you before. And I also have tracing paper. And the reason why I have tracing paper is because it's going to make transferring my image 5 times so much easier. So if you can get tracing paper, great. Or not, that's totally fine too. So I have my image, it's taped on here. I have a couple squares blocked off. Let's see, what color palette do I want to do today? Maybe I'll do maybe we'll do a tertiary color. And then maybe if I have time, I'll do a triadic, but I'm probably not going to get to that one. So with your tracing paper, I like to just put it over my image here and go ahead and trace, preferably with an 8B pencil or some kind of dark pencil. I think would be really nice. Just making sure you can still see this. And kind of going in and just, again, this is not the best image, so make sure when you print your image off, you can use a magazine to get this image. You can print it off the internet, whatever you want to do, just as long as the image is really good quality and it's easy to kind of see all the value changes there. So maybe I'll refer to my my printed version, my bigger printed version, just so I can kind of see here. So not the best, but that'll kind of do for what we're doing right now. And so if you wanted to, you could, flip it over and draw on the back of it and it would imprint, but it will invert it. So if you don't want that to happen, what I like to do is just draw the exact same thing on the back side with your pencil as close as you can. And then you're going to flip it back over and see how you can see on my other sheet of paper how it's kind of started to image trace onto there. And it already started to move on here. So I'm going to put this back on this 4" by 4". And then I'm just going to go ahead and, again, draw one more time, push really hard. And kind of put that in there. I'm doing this for the sake of time. I'm not really making sure this is perfect, but just make sure that you're getting it as perfect as possible. Try to get it as close as possible. Pick an image that you can break up the values really easily with too. I think that's really important, because if you pick something that's a little too complicated, it might be hard to kind of figure out where sections of value and where sections of colors need to go here. And so you can kind of see it here. Get transferred pretty decently. Hopefully it's visible to you. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint. And I think before I'm going to paint, since I probably won't get time to do my triadic color palette here, I'm going to go ahead and mix my color wheel as well. And let me go ahead and grab a palette sheet. Again, you can use really anything you want as long as it works as a flat surface for mixing paints. So I'm just going to leave that there. Move my ruler out of the way. And I'm just going to kind of blob in my, let's see if I can move this over a little bit more. All right, you can probably see that better. So I'm just going to put in, a little bit of red, a little bit of blue. You got to be careful with acrylics, depending on what acrylics you buy, most of them, they'll dry really fast. So you want to make sure that you use them as quickly as possible so they don't dry. They're not like oils that stay wet for a long time, so they can be kind of annoying in that sense. But it's nice that they dry fast, so you don't have to wait for them to dry for ever. So yeah. Let's see, my yellow's a little bit low, but I think I got enough here. Okay. So I've got my paints here on my right side. And so what I'm going to do to kind of make my color wheel is I'm just going to maybe sketch out what my color wheel is going to look like. So I'm just going to use circles for this. Remember that your primaries and your secondaries work in a triangle format. So, you know, you want to have maybe your primaries in a right side up triangle, have your secondaries in an upside down triangle here. And then you're going to have your tertiaries kind of in between here. So yeah, I got my thing sketched out here. And then I'm just going to take these colors and I'm going to take the red and paint right on there. Ideally, you would do this as your sketchbook assignment, I believe is what you'll actually do, but I'm just going to show you this anyway. So we got a red. Make sure you wash out your brush. Yes, I am a washer. I don't know if I've said that before. Make sure you wash out your brush, clean it out really good so you don't get any traces of other paints in there. I'm going to go ahead and paint my yellow. So let's see, let's do yellow here, I guess. There's really no like right or wrong way, as long as it's in the correct order, I guess you would say. So you could put yellow there if you wanted to. It's not like that big of a deal. But I'm just going to put it here. Again, wash out my brush. I'm from Missouri, so that's why we wash everything. We don't wash, we wash. Okay, and then we got our blue. So I'm going to go ahead and put my blue down here. Okay, so we got those. How we doing here? Okay, doing good. All right, so I got my primaries put on the color wheel. And now I'm going to go ahead and mix my secondary colors. So the way to do this is I kind of just like to take equal parts of each color, kind of like we did for the value thing, and go ahead and kind of mix those together. So say if I want to mix, red and blue. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to take a little bit of blue. I'm just going to go ahead and mix that and see what I get. Again, you probably would want to use a palette knife for this, but I'm just going to go ahead and use my brush. I think it's fine. That seems kind of dark. Let's see, we can kind of look at that there. So I'm going to add a little bit more red to it. See if I get more of a purpley color. Violet, I guess you would say. Okay, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so we got that color. I'll go ahead and mix my green. I'll do green next. How about that? Clean out my brush. I'm gonna take some yellow, take some blue, mix those together. That's a pretty good green. I think that's good. Again, we're gonna wash out our brush. And then we're gonna mix our orange. So I'm gonna go ahead and just grab more yellow. I don't know if you can see too well over here. It's kind of getting a little bit out of the way. So I'll try to see if I can move this over a hair. So we'll put our yellow down here. And just remember, if you need to use all this, make sure you have more colors, but you can always put down new primary colors. So mix enough secondary colors, but you can always just put down new primary. So this is a little bit too red here. So I'm going to just kind of make a new blob and take more yellow and mix it to get more of an orange. So I think that's pretty good there. So spent a lot of time washing up my brushes. Okay, so now we're going to go in and we're just going to take these colors and we're going to paint them in between. So looking at the color relationships, obviously we know that red and yellow make orange. So we want to put our orange right here. Got orange. We're going to look at green. So we're going to get our green here. Put that right here. And then we'll do our violet right here. Again, make sure your color was a little more cleaner than this. But we can kind of see here that we have our primary, secondary colors. And then we're going to go ahead and mix our tertiary colors. As you can kind of see here, when I was kind of mixing new colors, you can kind of see that I started having those tertiary colors here. So this is kind of more of like a violet blue-ish color here. And so we're going to go ahead and just start mixing or using some of these colors. We can mix the colors as needed, but I think this is a pretty good blue-violet. I'll just put right there. Some of these I might have to mix more or mix new ones of. Let's see, we have more, this one maybe could use a little bit more red. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some red in here. Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. So that's kind of more of a red-orange there. Let's see, we need a little bit more blue to get this blue-green. So I'm going to mix some more blue in here just to get a little bit more turquoisey. I'm going to put that in there. And then the other ones I'm probably going to have to mix. So I didn't already make those colors, which is fine. So we'll do a yellow. I need more yellow, actually. I need a yellow-green. So I'm just going to take my brighter green up here, mix it with my yellow, get a nice yellow-green. There, could probably have a little bit more yellow, make it a little more brighter. You want these to have like a nice flow between one value to the next. So that's probably a pretty good yellow, yellow-green. Let's do a yellow-orange. So I'm going to just take some of this yellow here and mix it with my orange up here. Make it nice and light. And then last but not least, our violet red or red violet. So I'm going to go ahead and take some red, mix it with this violet here. And put that right there. Okay. So you should be able to see that in the end, I have a nice, color wheel that's happening here with a nice flow. Again, we have our primaries, our secondaries, and then our tertiary colors. So we're pretty good on knowing what our colors are supposed to look like, and we can use this as a guide for when we go into this project here. Okay, so jumping into this, let's see. Let me just double check that I want to do which relationship I want to do. So, I wrote tertiary. I meant to say triadic, not tertiary. Or triadics here. I mean tetradic. Sorry. Tetradic. We don't want to do tertiary because we already have our tertiary colors here. That's not a color relationship. So it's a tetradic color palette here. So that's the one I'm going to use for now, but you want to do one of each. So again, you're going to need a monochromatic, a complementary, a triadic, a tetradic, and an analogous example. So we're going to go with the tetradic. And again, a tetradic one is 4 colors that are equally spaced on the color wheel. Usually this is 2 pairs of complementary colors. So that's what I'm going to go with here. So looking at complementary colors, remember orange and blue being one, red and green being one, yellow and purple being one, but you need to make sure that there's 4 equally spaced ones here. So I'm going to go with these 4 colors. I'm going to do orange, red, orange, green, and blue. So those are going to be my colors here. Or I can get even more fancy and do red, violet, green, blue, red, orange, and yellow, green. And maybe I'll do those because that might be really interesting to see how that looks. So I'm going to go with these 4 colors, but they need to be equally spaced and have some sort of complementariness to them. Okay. So this is kind of just up to you and how you want to paint this. Again, try to make sure you're as clean as possible. Try to break off sections that you think would work well for the values. Again, I have my bigger example, so I'm going to use that as a reference. But I'm just going to go in and kind of start painting here. So, looking at intensity of colors and thinking of what colors would work best for the darker values, what colors would work best for the lighter values. So kind of where the sun is, I think my yellow green is going to be best for that. So I'm going to go ahead and just paint that in there. This paint I have is not the greatest, but it will do. Okay, so I kind of got that in there. I can also go in and maybe where these like really light values are in the sky, I can go in and paint those also, this yellow green if I really wanted to, but not necessarily. But I think I'm going to just because, I'm only got 4 colors to work with. And you can play with shades and tints if you want to make stuff a little darker and a little bit lighter to kind of work with that. Let me mix some more yellow here. Probably best if you mixed a bunch of these colors to begin with so you weren't really stuck having to remix them, because sometimes remixing colors isn't always the best practice if you kind of get lost in trying to get the colors to match exactly the same every time. See, it's already too dark, so I'm going to need more yellow. Mix that in. Yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so going in and painting. Again, try to paint this as close as you can. I don't know if you heard it, my stomach just growled really loud. It's about dinner time. All right. I'm gonna do a little bit more here, I think. And have fun with this, you can really play with, where colors go where, nothing's really right or wrong. As long as you're exploring those color relationships appropriately, you can kind of really be experimental on what values will change to what colors. Again, I kind of like to stick with, lighter colors for certain things. I think they just work better. But it's kind of really up to you. You can really be, you can have fun with it, basically. So I'm realizing this is not painting exactly to how the image looks, but I think it'll be fine for what we're trying to do here, I guess you would say. Okay, so we'll just say that's kind of my yellow-green areas I got there. And maybe next I'm going to look at my next darker color, and I'm going to do this color here. But maybe I actually want to do this red-orange for this background up here, because I think it could be a really interesting combination. So kind of going in and, instead of doing that darker green, I can just do this red, and I'll have a nice complementariness to it. I should say red-orange. This is probably where I want to use my other brush, because this one's kind of slowing me down. Probably pick an image that has a little bit more crisper value changes than a sunset. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. If it helps too, you can always like do a color by number too, like write in each section what color is going to be, or do some test, examples somewhere else can also help. Let's see, about done. Okay, so we got that. Okay, doesn't look the greatest, but we're gonna roll with it. I'm sure you all do a much better job than I will at this. Okay, and then I'm gonna look at my water, so we're kind of getting to the water part here. Oh, actually, I have a little bit more red red orange I need to put in here. My apologies. I think a little bit of my water got in there. Okay, got into my brush. Okay. Now I'm going to go into the water. So looking at this, I'm going to kind of just break these up a little bit more, and I'm going to mix a little bit more red violet. I'm going to kind of look at this here, and I think I'll make this section here that red violet. My dog is also snoring. It's kind of funny. She's only 15 pounds. Okay. Gonna mix a little bit more. Again, this is a little bit more sloppy, but hopefully you'll do this a little bit better. Okay, so I kind of like this section here. And then I'm going to do my darkest areas, which is kind of like at the top of the water and the bottom of the water. It's kind of hard to see in my example, but there's like an area here and an area up here. So that's where I'm going to use this really dark blue-green, and maybe I'll mix a little bit more of that just so I have extra. See if we can get a little bit darker. Okay, that's probably good. And I'm just going to go in and let's see, and then I can kind of look at stuff, and maybe I want to break up some stuff a little bit more. Maybe there's some like other areas in here, but make sure these are, nice evened out sections. Don't just get these weird paint strokes in here. I can go back and kind of touch stuff up if I really wanted to. I know you guys will need to, just to make sure your projects are nice and clean. Let's see, maybe I can do some more red orange stuff. Yeah, maybe I can get some kind of. Okay, well, you get the idea. So yeah, that's kind of basically what you'll be doing for this project. You can kind of see my not as great attempt here, but it helps get the point across, I guess you would say, of what we need to do. So again, just making sure you're going to print off a 4" by 4" black and white image. Make sure there's a lot of good shapes and values in it, and then you're going to create 5 more 4" by 4" pieces of Bristol. You can cut them out individually. I also like to just keep them on the same thing so you don't have to put them back together afterward. Make sure they're 4" by 4", and you're going to do one of these and do a color relationship for each one. So remember, you're going to do a monochromatic, which is one that's just using tints and shades of one color. You're going to do one that's complementary, that's just 2 opposite colors on each of the wheel. So, orange, blue, red, green, violet, yellow, or you can get more creative and do more of the tertiary complementaries. You're going to do a triadic that's going to use 3 colors that are equally spaced. So you could do like primary or secondary colors. And then you're going to do a tetradic like I just did, where it's four colors that are equally spaced on the color wheel, and then analogous, which is using four or more colors that touch each other on the wheel. So maybe if I wanted to do, red, violet, red, red, orange, and orange, that would be an analogous color palette. But make sure you're doing just one for each of the same image. You're replicating it using different color relationships, and that is basically it. But if you have any questions, just let me know. Otherwise, good luck, and I bet you guys will do really great.